Yo, what's happening guys, King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go video. Today we're going to be showcasing a very fun team in the Great League featuring Togetic in the lead with Medicham and Swampert in the back. Togetic, generally speaking, is weak to Steel types and Lantern. Swampert and Medicham can perform against those. It's a pretty balanced team. We usually safe swap Medicham, and in this first game we have a Shadow Victory Bell. This is exactly where I want to see it, and this is exactly what I want to see. Buffed Earliest is going to absolutely one-shot the Victory Bell, and we've got the opponent in a shambles already here. The opponent goes for a very nice catch. Come into Lickitung here. What I like to do is chipless Pokemon anyway and then come into Medicham. We're going to go back up to the Aerialist again so we have it stored for the Victory Bell. And with that chip, we should be able to take switch advantage with Medi. I think what I want to do here is go up to back-to-back Ice Punches and then look to basically even shield to take switch advantage. One Ice Punch for Victory Bell and one Ice Punch for Lickitung here. We go up to the back-to-back. We fire off Ice Punch number 1 here, which will take out the Lickitung, and we should have an Ice Punch for the Victory Bell whenever it comes back. For some reason, guys, I was being a complete potato and I thought that I banged a Psychic and an Ice Punch. 100 energy will bang an Ice Punch and a Psychic. However, I was not quite on 100 energy, so that was a bit of a potato. The opponent goes for another catch. It's not going to happen this time. We have a very amazing team this game here. We've got Victory Bell, we've got Bastiodon, and we have, of course, Medicham in the back. We go for the Earthquake, absolutely one-shotting this thing, and we're going to go for a Hydro Cannon on the Victory Bell. The opponent cannot afford to shield this, and they do let it go here. The opponent has taken us out. We only have a low health Togetic. However, this Togetic has got 2 Aerialists banged. Aerialist number 1 coming through. Aerialist number 2 coming through. And Togetic is going to just put on an absolute show for the first game. So we had Victory Bell, sorry, it wasn't Medicham, it was Lickitung and Basti. A very, very fun team, I'm sure. And yeah, we do manage to beat that and win the first game. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a fantastic day here. Do let me know in the comment section down below. Again, do you have any sort of underrated Pokemon that you like using? Togetic is certainly not meta, but it's very, very fun to use. Fun fact about Togetic, it takes 3 Ice Punches from a Medicham to take it out. You triple resist the counters, and with the earliest coverage to hit the grass, fighting types, and of course the big dazzling gleam, you can do a lot of damage with this Pokemon. Guys, in today's video we're going to go through all of the gameplay, but also we're going to have a little chat about the next season update. I don't normally make videos specifically about the updates. However, while we're doing the shoutcast, of course, we can look at things and have a little chat about next season. Do let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts on the new season? Do you like the Medicham nerf and Steelix nerf? And do you like the buffs to things like Poliwrath, Greedent, Whiscash, Charm Wigglytuff getting a buff? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. And of course, if you do enjoy this content, like and subscribe, helps us an absolute ton. Guys, we're going to go for a big dazzling gleam. We actually ate the Meteor Mash and we just wipe out the Clefable. In comes, a Sand Slash, and we should be in a very good position here. I think they do go straight for Ice Punch. I'm going to shield this up anyway. I'm going to try to CMP them just to make sure that they're not getting overfarmed. I think I do manage to do it here. And basically all we need to do is just keep mud-shotting it down and going for Hydro Cannons. At this point, guys, we've got their shield. We need to build up to back-to-back moves. And I think we still even live an Ice Punch from this range. That's basically curtains for the opponent, guys. We'll CMP the next move if they have it. And that's going to be game over. Yeah, we do CMP it and good games to the opponent. So yeah, probably at the time of watching this, guys, the next season will be out in a day or two. I think it's going to be a very interesting season. We've got nerfs to Medicham, nerfs to Steelix. I personally do think that Steelix, the way they handle that Pokemon by giving a Breaking Swipe, unfortunately kind of shows that they don't really test things too much. In this matchup here, guys, by the way, I like to even eat the Body Slam here is great as well, because it guarantees that I take swap. But I like to get off a little chip, because Lickitung can beat Medicham in the zeros, so any chip you can get free is more than welcome. And of course we can look to counter it down and look to get off a Psychic on their own Medicham. I think next season's going to be very interesting. So Medicham's Psychic got heavily nerfed, so it's not really going to be very effective anymore. So you basically want to run Dynamic Punch or Pup. I could see Pup getting a lot of play, especially for Medichams that are in the back. This opponent actually shields up that Psychic, which is quite interesting. Next season you're not really going to see that often. And actually, quite interestingly, Dynamic Punch is a cheaper move than Psychic. It's 8 and then 7, so like in neutral matchups, Medicham's going to be even better. Dynamic Punch does more damage and it's a cheaper move, so I certainly don't think that Medicham's going anywhere. I think it's still going to be like top 5 in the PvPoke rankings. If I had to guess, it'll be like 3rd or 4th. I think you'll most likely see Carbink and Lickitung at the top. That's just my personal guess. I can imagine Medicham being ranked number 3, which I don't think is a bad thing. As for Steelix, the Breaking Swipe nerf, it's going to be either 50% or 66%. I don't think we actually know what it is yet. If it is 66%, Steelix is not really going anywhere either. If you think about the Steelix playstyle, you basically shield and look to basically, throw off Breaking Swipes as quickly as possible. So I think people will still do that, even if you fail to debuff the first time. Chances are, if it's a 66% chance, if you don't get the debuff the first time around, you definitely shield the first move. Second time it comes through, you should probably get a debuff. You might get unlucky sometimes and only get it once. Even then, Steelix is bulky that it can hang in against the Mud Boys, hang in against the Fighters. It's going to be absolutely fine, and I think you're going to see a lot of matches play out exactly the same way. At the moment, Steelix consistently beats Diggersby, Swampert in the 2 shield scenario in the Great League, It beats Virizion up a Dragon Tail. It beats Shadow Swampert in the Ultra League as well. I think it's a little bit too strong. It beats counter users in the Ultra League. Giving a bulky Pokemon like Steelix Breaking Swipe was certainly a bit of a mistake. However, if you build a Steelix for Ultra League like I did this season, I don't think it's a bad investment anyway. I think it's still going to be good. And like I said, if you're against, neutral matchups, it's still going to do what Steelix does. Yeah, you might lose to the Mud Boys, but like, let's be honest here, it's a ground steel type, and it was beating water ground types. Something unfortunately had to be done, and as a result, people who've built Rayquazas and invested dust into Heliolisk and all of these other Pokemon are unfortunately receiving collateral damage. I don't play Master League, people say Rayquaza can be a problem, I don't really know, but I do think Heliolisk and Haxorus definitely are very, very hurt by this move update. It has to be said though that those Pokemon aren't really meta players. They're definitely very fun spice picks. I certainly hope that Niantic look at this mistake and don't try to make the same mistake again. However, it looks like they might have already made the same mistake twice, because they've added Icy Wind to Wigglytuff. I'm not sure why a Charmer needs a debuff move, so that they can just charm through everything and debuff everything. I really don't think they're learning their lesson here, folks, whenever they're doing the exact same mistake twice, plus giving a lot of other Pokemon Icy Wind. I think a lot of the updates are quite good though. I personally am not a huge fan of debuff moves in general, because you can basically add a lot of toxic bulk to a team that's already bulky. A very popular team, for example, with Steelix was Medicham and Basti, or you would sometimes see Dugong and Steelix paired together. So you've got two Pokemon that are already bulky, debuffing opponents into oblivion. It means the Pokemon that are a little bit more glassy, a little bit more fun, a little bit less meta. Things like Swampert on screen here, things like Togetic. When you're up against that enormous bulk all the time and you're up against debuffs constantly, it is quite difficult to perform in that meta. With Pokemon that are a little bit less bulky, not even complete glass cannons, I think Swampert is a pretty decently balanced Pokemon in terms of its stats, right? It's pretty glassy, but it's not like a complete glass cannon. It's not like Greninja, but of course it doesn't have a lot of bulk. Even Pokemon like Swampert nowadays are on the trickier side to run. So that's my personal take on the meta. I think it is very, very oriented around bulk these days. And there seems to be quite a focus on debuff moves, but we'll just have to see how that plays out. So the Lantern ends up taking out the Swampert. It's all up to our big boy here. We're going to go for the Dazzling Gleam, just to make sure that we KO. I maybe could have went for the Aurelius, but I wasn't sure about it. Back in comes Buzzwole. We're going to farm up a little bit just before they get to the move, and then go for the Aurelius to take it out with double super effective damage. Boom. I could have made that match a lot easier on myself. All I had to do was just, keep throwing Hydro Cannons. I thought they might let it go, because it's like, oh, I probably live one more and to get off this move. So I decided to go for the big nuke. They do shield it. And also, I could have CMP'd them on the Hydro Cannon again. It is what it is, folks. I was kind of expecting a catch at the same time as well. In comes a Skeledirge. Medicham on Skeledirge, not the greatest, but you're going to see the power of Medicham here. We're going to get off a big Psychic, which on this Glassy Fire type is going to do quite a decent amount of damage. We're never going to flip this match. I do call the move, they go for the Shadow Ball, and I'm super happy with this, because I'm like, okay, this is Zionic's Legend team. Shout out to Zionic. He came up with this original team. Lantern in the front with Water Gun, Skeledirge, and the Marowak in the back. So I am ready to double shield Swampert. I am shielding absolutely everything. They come in with Lantern, and I know for a fact they're going to shield everything. They cannot let Swampert into their back. We're going to go back up to the Earthquake, and once again fire for the Hydro Cannon. In the twos, you can go straight Hydro Cannon, and I know that if I take this out, I'm basically chilling. I believe the opponent was over 20 Water Guns there, so I do go for a catch. The opponent does not fall for it. And we're going to bring Togetic into the Marowak. This is where we'd love to have Ancient Power, and I had a Talonflame where I would have loved Ancient Power as well. But of course, the Aurelius is so nice for the grass types, which gives this flying type the coverage you want, right? So Aurelius, boom. Look how low we're getting this Marowak, and this is a non-shadow as well. They can go for a Shadow Bone, but this is not going to be anywhere close to enough. Togetic has surprisingly decent bulk. We get off this last move, and what I actually want to do here is not give the Lantern too much farm so they get to 2 Surfs. Yeah, the opponent stops attacking, realizing that I've stopped attacking. I was basically just trying to burn my Switch Clock there. The Switch Clock was just about to come up. I didn't want to give Lantern extra Water Guns, and now at this point, guys, we go straight for the Earthquake, which will of course one-shot the Lantern. That's going to be good games well played. And man, speaking of next season's updates, Incinerate's going to be pretty insane. It's up to 20 damage, 30% more damage. It's 15 to 20, 33% to be precise. Pokemon like Talonflame and Skeledirge are going to be very, very good. Whenever Skeledirge gets Blast Burn, it's going to be insane. In comes a Venusaur in the lead. We farm up one before the Sludge Bomb and we look to fire off the Aurelius. I don't think this one-shots them. They generally live Aurelius pretty comfortably. However, I'm not sure how well I live a Sludge Bomb. If we do live it, it's not going to be very comfortable, so I decided to shield up here. These Vine Whips are actually adding up, and in comes Steelix. Speaking of the man himself, here he comes. He's going to come in and debuff us into oblivion. And we're going to see this matchup play out. Medicham, a lot of people would consider this to be the most busted Pokemon in the Great League, versus Steelix, a Steel type. How close does this match actually get? We're just going to keep countering through, and this is actually a Shadow as well. So this thing is taking more damage. So we're trying to play this out in the zeros. Guys, look how close this is getting in the zeros. Look how close this is getting in the zeros. Counter is the strongest fast move in the game. Ice Punches are neutral. And look how low they get us. It's actually ridiculous, right? They come into Lantern, we can only get off an Ice Punch. I try to commit to the move, but of course I'm never going to get it off. They come back into Venusaur, we come back into our Togetic and just launch a move immediately. We'll see how much damage this does. It done a lot of damage. I wasn't expecting it to do quite as much. And I think at this point, guys, I have to just basically trust in Swampert. We have one shield, the opponent has none. I think I have to let this move go. If it is a Sludge Bomb, so be it. Let them take us out here, and we're going to try and Mudshot it the whole way down with Swampert. Once we Mudshot this down, that'll allow us to outpace two moves. The Lantern basically needs 2 Surfs to KO us here. And Swampass in the back, like a good boy he is, he does take the clutch here, and Swampert's so fun for sweeping games. Definitely probably my favourite Pokemon for sweeping. Swampert and Charizard, definitely my 2 favourite Pokemon for sweeping, and what a lead we get in the next game. It's a Mandibuzz, in comes Lantern, in comes Swampert, and you know, they just top left. They just top left. I don't know why I left that match in. Nice little RPS for the win. Umbreon lead, what a lead. In comes Deoxys. I don't really know what to do with this thing, so I think I should probably consider getting off a big move and going into Medicham. However, Medicham is another answer for their, what's his face? Umbreon. So I could even stay in here, honestly. I definitely live this Thunderbolt really comfortably, by the way. I decided to eat one later on, and you live it so comfortably. I build up and go for the bait, see if they want to try and take Switch. They do shield it and get off a move here. Now we're about to find out. I knew I would live this Thunderbolt, and it actually does so little. Look at that. Little Togetic eating it like an absolute pro. And we farm up to 1 before the Psycho Boost. Look to fire off the Aerialist, the opponent lets it go, and back in comes Sandslash of all things. I decide I'm only going to get off 1 move, and we've got basically Medicham to sweep this entire game. Now, I think I decided to come into Swampert. I think this is a mistake right here. Maybe actually just come in, eat the move of Swampert, and then come in and go for counter down. Okay, then I go for the swap. The opponent was so fast on that swap, I think I only got through 1 counter, so fair play to the opponent. They were on their toes waiting for something like that, and we go for Ice Punches against the Umbreon. Pretty boring matchup overall here. Umbreon is super thick and actually makes this match relatively close. They're going to get off a few moves. In the Zero Shield scenario, if you want to win as an Umbreon, you do go for Last Resort here at the end. We're just going to keep launching Ice Punches here, but maybe because they have a little bit of an energy lead, they might want to go straight foul play. We'll see what they decide to do here. I think I might let this go, okay. I'm not too sure about this. Maybe, yeah, come into Swampert, they come into this. This is going to be very, very close. You would think that this is very positive for me, but my Medicham's got super low. Do I get off this Hydro Cannon? I think I'm just at it here. I think I'm just at the Hydro. I think it should be fine. Yeah, I am just at the move. So it was actually getting kind of close. The opponent played it quite well, but we just have too much firepower for the Umbreon and the Sandslash in our Medicham. And again, that's where you're going to see Medicham just being exactly the same, if not actually better. Umbreons will be forced to shield up moves against you if they want to have any sort of a chance. And we're up to 3086, my highest ever elo. So pretty good. We're up to our highest ever elo using something like Togetic. Definitely very, very fun. And of course, the day before we were using Clefable, which is a pretty fun Pokemon, not exactly meta though. We go for a massive Dazzling Gleam, go for a huge chip on the Licky. I do always like to chip the Licky before dipping, but I just had to see how much damage I'd done, and I'd done quite a lot. In comes Charm Ninetales. And the good thing about Medi here in this situation is, you're going to be able to get off a big move. Now with Dynamic Punch, you're going to do even more damage in this match. So like that match is going to once again play out exactly the same way. If you get the Dynamic Punch through, it's going to do even more damage. Now we come into Swampert here and basically try to outspam the opponent. What I decide to do is build up to back-to-back moves. I'll go for 7 Mud Shots, which means I have to eat 5 Charms, which does quite a lot to Swampert, but this will give us a lot of energy on the other side. Now I'm curious to see what the opponent wants to come back into. We still have a very healthy Togetic. Do they come back into... Oh, they come into Medicham. So this is quite interesting. We've got the Lickitung quite low. We've got a pretty decently healthy Swampert. I can certainly get off... Oh, I thought I could get off 1 more move there. Definitely unfortunate. Had I had 1 more Mud Shot. They're on Pop. I do get off this move. This is fantastic. And with the opponent on Pop, I wonder if they're on Pop Psychic. We come in with Clefable, go for the Fairy Wind down. Back in comes Lickitung. Now, our release is on a Lickitung. Do about 20%. As you can see, they're in the yellow, which means that they're around 25%. So I basically just have to hope that this is enough. I do have a slightly attack-weighted Togetic, but nothing too crazy. You can see that this Pokemon is decent bulk, and I'm actually even using like a slightly more attack-weighted spread. If you ever do want to use Togetic for some reason, it's a good Pokemon. I'm not recommending that you guys build it, right? It is a good Pokemon though, but I actually recommend going for like a slightly high attack, like a 4 attack, 3 attack, because you do get some breakpoints and things like that, and it actually allows you to win some matches, so we're able to hang in long enough and get off 2 moves against the Licky. And of course, Fairy Wind it down, and in comes an amazing lead. We get a Dragonair, in comes a Lickitung once again, guys. So many Lickitungs in this meta. You know, funny, like people complain about Medicham quite a lot. I actually dislike Lickitung a lot more than I dislike Medicham. I think this Pokemon is just super, super annoying, super bulky, pretty spammy with Body Slam, licks add up a lot, and it's just such an annoying Pokemon to deal with. You're seeing that Lickitung here is actually like doing very, very well against Medicham in the zeros. That's always why I like chipping it first. Getting that chip on it and making this match more comfortable is so vital, I think. The opponent comes into their Dragonair for some reason. They're going to eat this Ice Punch and Dragonair for some reason as well. I guess they know that we have a Togetic, so they don't really want to mess around. I get Switch Lock myself, which is kind of bad, which gives the opponent a bit of an energy lead. So no matter what, I'm going to have to eat one Surf. They cannot spark us down. And this is the one good thing about non-Shadow Swampert. If I needed to, I could have ate 2 Surfs, but I think at this point we're fine. The opponent do not call the move this time. The last opponent did call the first move, which fair play to them. We're going to go straight Hydro Cannon. It's the safest option here. Even if they let this go, I can just go for another one straight away. 3 Hydro Cannons basically takes us out, so this is perfectly fine. Of course with the Mud Shot damage. Now at this point guys, we're all down shields. I'm expecting them to go for the catch. They catch exactly on the Earthquake and we come into Togetic. I go for a slide over farm here and look to fire off the Aurelius. Now the question is guys, can Togetic actually take care of Lantern right here? The opponent has to farm up. How much is a Dazzling Gleam going to do to quite a bulky Lantern? It's actually going to take it out from about 40% health. So good games well played. Togetic is a Lantern counter confirmed. In this next match we have Swampert versus Togetic. I decided to go for a big Dazzling Gleam here. Now I sort of wondered, does 3 Aureliuses do it a little bit better? Which would be 15 fairy wins. However, I guess yeah, you go for 1 Dazzling Gleam, 1 Aurelius, which is 13. So I think certainly going for 1 big move and 1 small move is better. The opponent gets up to the back-to-back Hydros. They end up throwing it on midi here. And they're down to very low health. Now in comes Mandibles. Guys, I'm not very convinced about Mandibles as a midi counter. And actually this is kind of where Dynamic Punch is nice as well. Even though Ice Punch is super effective, it is a weaker move as compared to Dynamic Punch. I think if you went for the Dynamic Punch first, you get them down to like 50% health or so, or something like that, and then start firing off Ice Punches at that point. So once again, we're seeing another match from Medicham that's not really going to affect it that much, and it might even be better in certain cases. You only are able to get off 1 more move. The opponent is just outside of range for the Ice Punch. Go for Dynamic Punch. That could even be a little bit better. We're going to Fairy Wind it the whole way down. In comes Swampert. We go for the catch and go for the Mud Shot down. And that's going to be good games. Obviously, Togetic is just core breaking that time. We absolutely nuked the Swampert. We were farming down the Mandibles with it, and we didn't get to see what was in the back, but good games well played. And in this next game, we have a Sableye. Will they put and go for a catch? They do not. I think I wait a turn here and go for the Aurelius. I'd be surprised if they let this go. They do let it go. That could have been the big Dazzling Gleam. Very, very brave call by the opponent. Now, I'm thinking I definitely live a return. It actually does a lot, though. And I'm sort of expecting the catch as well. We're playing at the 0 shield by the looks of things. Actually, the opponent's shield, so I'm perfectly happy with that. What I might look to do is actually come in for a counter down with Medicham, which might seem like a funny play, because they are going to get off a foul play. All I can do is match the shield and look to counter it the whole way down and just be like, you know what, there's your Medicham counter out of the way. What are you going to come into? They come into Gligar, so the opponent has 2 Medicham counters, so I guess the joke's on me here, but we have 2 Ice Punches loaded, one of which will not quite KO, of course, but will threaten the shield. And the opponent either has to give this up or look to go down to 0 shields. At this stage, guys, we can come into Swampert. They go for a catch on Registeel. Not too sure what that was all about. I'm not too sure what that was all about. We can actually comfortably live 1 move off this thing as well. As a non-shadow, we comfortably live a move, so we do not shield this here. And basically, we build up to 1 move for the Reggie and 1 move for the Gligar. That's going to be good games. Actually, we just Mud Shot it the whole way down. I could have went for the Earthquake and the Gligar. I was probably tempted to do so, but that was going to be good games. In comes a Talonflame. This is super tricky, because we can't really let it get onto Medicham. And what I'm going to do here is bait out the Ancient Power. I'm going to pretend I've got Ancient Power to get the shield off the opponent. The opponent does fall for it. And at this point, guys, I'm like, okay, Brave Bird me daddy. They do go for it. And we actually live a Brave Bird, which is quite insane. I decide here, okay, we're going to get some good use out of Togetic. We're going to fire off the Dazzling Gleam, see if they want to shield it or not. They do not. We come into Medicham. We're going to have to eat 1 move, but we're going to come out with a Psychic or a couple of Ice Punches. I decide to shield up the Hydro. I guess that's quite interesting. Medicham does not really care that much about Talonflame. I guess this is a match where you're going to see Medicham being a little bit worse. You're going to have to go straight Ice Punch on this matchup. And I actually do think they're going to go for the Brave Bird once again. I decide to respect the move. And if they YOLO it, we can just look to counter it down. The opponent, yeah, I think they're still locked. They come into Quagsire here. We're going to go for a big Psychic. Once again, this is another better matchup for Medicham. They do shield up the first move here. The only thing that's a little bit worse is you don't get a catch all on this thing. Judging by how the opponent was playing, I could sort of tell they were going to go for 1 before the Psychic, and that worked out perfectly well. I think at this point we just show them Swampert, and it's like, yep, good games, buddy. That was a savage catch, absolutely unnecessary, but what a great way to finish out the video. Thank you very much everybody for watching, hope you enjoyed the Togetic gameplay. But like I said guys, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the new update in the comment section down below. I think it's going to be a very fun season. The cup rotations are a million times better, and we don't have any 2 weeks of Electric Cup, Psychic Cup, or all these crappy mono-type cups. 100% a lot better in that regard. Move updates very interesting. Like I said, we've got Poliwrath, we've got Toxicroak, we have Palossand and Astonish getting a little bit of a buff. We have just a lot of quite interesting things with Icy Wind, like Icy Wind Abomasnow, Triple Axle Frostlass, which I think is a downgrade from Avalanche anyway. And then we're going to have, like I said, Talonflames roaming the skies. Low-key guys, one of the Pokemon I'm most excited to use is Staraptor. I believe I've got a rank 1 Shadow for Ultra League. It's either a rank 1 Shadow for Ultra League or Great League, but that Pokemon with Close Combat and Fly is going to be amazing, because you don't have to debuff yourself every single time you're using it, and this is going to be a flyer with just fantastic coverage. Close Combat's going to be able to hit back the Steel types, or any sort of Staraptor counters. So let's say for example if you're able to get a farm down on a Medicham or something, the opponent comes back into their Sandslash, Staraptor will unleash back-to-back Close Combats, and that's going to be a ton of fun. I think Poliwrath is going to be quite busted in the Ultra League. However, I'm quite a big fan of Poliwrath, and I think it's a Pokemon that, even with the debuffs, you're still going to be able to like take it out with the grass moves. Electric's still going to be good against it, you're going to have your Lanturns to deal with, your Ampharos is in Ultra League. Although, Poliwrath is so thick in Ultra League that Ampharos doesn't really deal with it that well, so Poliwrath will actually be an Ampharos counter. So again, going back to my earlier topic, my earlier suggestion, did Niantic learn their lesson from Steelix? They're giving Poliwrath a quite bulky Pokemon, Icy Wind. They're giving a bulky Charmer in Wigglytuff, Icy Wind. However, they're nerfing Breaking Swipe because Steelix is bulky and is debuffing opponent's attack. Did Niantic learn their lesson? Probably not. Probably not. Actually, I didn't even mention, but Scald, with the increased chance of attack drop and the increased damage. With Daddy Cash, bulky Pokemon, attack drops. Did Niantic learn? I think not, guys. I think the move updates are far too oriented around debuff moves. I guess we're going to have to see how it plays out. I do think the meta is going to be quite shifted for a little while. However, I think it's going to be shifted in a direction that nobody wants, and that is going to be Carbink meta. Carbink is a Pokemon I've been talking about for quite some time. It's a Pokemon I don't particularly like. I did gain a lot of Elo with it. It's not a very fun Pokemon to use, but it's a good Pokemon to use if you're trying to sweat and gain Elo. If you don't have a very direct answer to that Pokemon, that thing can run for your team. I think with all of the Talonflames, with the like bit of a nerf to Medicham, with Sandslash as being a little bit more scared to enter the meta, Grass types being a little bit more afraid to enter the meta because of all of the fire buffs, I think this is going to be the season of Stinky Binky. Carbink beats Lickitung, beats Umbreon, beats Medicham, all of the neutral tanks, right? It does quite well against Toxapex even. Azumarill with buffed Bubble will be able to beat it much more comfortably, so that is certainly a good thing. We don't even need to talk about how much Carbink is going to destroy a Talonflame. That Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death, as Jamie Finn likes to call it, is just going to get absolutely crushed by rocks. Carbink does very well in the zeros, even against things like Victory Bell, some of the hardest hitting grass types. You basically force shields off things, like you can force a shield off Venusaur, you beat Trevenant straight up in the zeros. That Pokemon is absolutely busted, guys, and unless you're using a Mudboy specifically, or like Bastiodon or Reggie, you're going to have a tough time against that Pokemon. I do think that Pokemon's going to rise up quite a lot, and I think we might be in for a bit of a tough time. That's a Pokemon that never should have came out with the moveset it came out with, of Rock Throw, Rock Slide, and Moonblast, which of course again, another attack debuff move. I think it's going to be a very interesting season. However, I do think that the reduction in Steelix usage will be nice and refreshing. Perhaps with Medicham not having Psychic and Steelix being nerfed, two of the harder counters to poison types, we may see more poison types in the meta, especially with Wigglytuff roaming around, trying to charm things down. So we may see things like Toxapex, Nidoqueen, and some of the lesser used poison types re-enter the fray a little bit more. So it should be quite interesting, but only time will tell. And of course, do let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Thank you very much everybody for watching. Drop a like, subscribe, hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, have a fantastic rest of your day.